Alright guys, looks like I went offline for a second there. I just saw that, so I'm not sure how long I've been offline, but we should be back online now. What I was saying was, generally speaking, winter is a time that I overall I'm a fan of, I think. But there can certainly be times where winter is challenging. I think, namely, winter is challenging when it comes to navigation, right? When it comes to driving on the roads, or even just sometimes walking. Cry gone? No. I think, unfortunately, the stream might have dropped temporarily because I imagine that streaming off of my mobile data is probably a little bit inconsistent. So if the stream is a bit intermittent for the next few minutes, then I apologize. But yeah, we're gonna have to figure it out because we have no other options at the moment. But what I was saying was, overall I like winter, but I think driving in the winter and even walking around sometimes, like when it's super icy or slushy, can be challenging. And the main thing is just that it's not as safe, you know, like it's hard to be in the, you know, like if you want to go somewhere, if you want to drive to another city, if you want to do anything, it can be less safe when you're driving in the winter. So that's the only thing that's hard about winter, I think, especially when you're like, I'm sure we've all been in a situation like when you're on a hill in the city and if the hill is icy and your car is slipping, so you can't go up the hill, and there's a guy right behind you because the guy doesn't understand that it's icy and he's honking at you like, why don't you go forward? And then you're like, dude, I'm trying, my car just doesn't want to go. And then you start sliding back towards him and he goes like, this is your fault. Even though if he would have half a brain, he could maybe give you some space because he can understand that the ice is not good, right? So anyway, besides traveling and driving in the winter, I think winter is very pretty. I like that winter has no bugs because they're all like hibernating / dead, which is a huge win, I think. And I like that just like, you know, like snow, especially like fresh snow when it's like really thick over the landscape, just looking over it. I honestly do like the cold. Obviously I don't like the cold like when I have to stay out in it for a long period of time, but I think because I grew up in a cold environment, there's like a nostalgic feeling associated with like being outside and like wearing like, you know, your jacket and your like, you know, all your warm stuff and like kind of feeling it like biting you a little bit. I think there's some nostalgia associated with that. So like I like when it's cold. Obviously it starts to get miserable if I have to be outside for a really long time. But even then it's like, it's a fun memory to think about. Like, you know, a couple years ago, Courtney and I went to this like sleigh ride thing through the city. Like there's like Candy Cane Lane or whatever, like a sleigh ride. And it was like pretty cold, and like it was like, you know, we were like trying to move our fingers and move around just to like keep ourselves warm, and like it was painful and it's difficult, but it's also like looking back on it and even like in the moment it's like fun because, you know, we are fortunate enough that we don't live in a place or time for us, you know, where we're seriously worried about freezing to death, right? Like if we seriously were to get really cold, we would just leave, we'd go and get into our car, turn it on, or we'd go home, right? And or if that didn't work, you know, we'd call someone, right? Like there's very low risk because of the you know, blessings that we have. And so then even like, for me, when I think of when I was on my Japan pilgrimage, I took, like, there was a lot of things that I took for granted, such as, like, having enough water, right? Like, when I was walking, of course I had a lot of water. It's not like I would leave with no water, but, like, as the day would go, as my water reserves would deplete, there were days where I was like, man, what if I run out of water? What if I pass out and, I'm seriously hurt or even die? And that was like a real possibility, and so that was a very interesting facet of my journey there, I think, was just the fact that, a lot of those things that we take for granted here, I didn't have, right? Like, even right now, you can see I'm driving. I've already traveled, I don't exactly know, but probably like several kilometers, right? Like quite a few kilometers. But walking, it takes like 12 to 15 minutes to walk 1 kilometer, And so the amount of distance that I'm going to drive here would take me probably all day to walk, right? But I can do the drive in like 20 minutes. And that's a huge benefit. And it's fascinating because, you would think that with such amazing technology, whether it's like the ability to drive a long distance in a very short time, or even just the ability that I have right now to speak to, potentially, right now it's probably only like a handful of people, but like in theory, there could be like hundreds or thousands of people watching me speak right now. And despite how we have all this huge technological ability to connect people, the humanness still wins out, in that like humans tend to have a lot of like difficulty and resistance to healthy community, right? And technology is never going to change. Like, you could argue that it will change people over time, but I think like on a fundamental base level, human spirit or human nature or whatever you would call it, is not significantly changed by technology. Our behaviors might change as far as like habits, especially like, with social media addiction and stuff, but generally like the fundamental human needs and the ways that we tend to act is not going to change, even with such changes in technology, right? Because like, I would think like as a walker, when I was walking through Shikoku, I'd be like, oh man, like, let's say that was my lifestyle. Like, I might think like, oh my gosh, like, my life would be so easy if I didn't have to walk. Like, if I could just get there instantly, right? But then what happens now? When we get there instantly, it's not like we just, now we do that one thing that we would have done walking, and now we get to relax the rest of the day. But now suddenly the demand on our productivity goes up, and also the maintenance of our vehicles and all the other technology also goes up. So then it ends up being that we don't actually get less busy when technology takes away some of the burden, right? I'm not saying the technology is bad, but what I am saying is that busyness is not a function of, well, like it can be, especially when you're struggling with extreme poverty and things like that. But once for those of us that are privileged enough to be in the, kind of like middle class, upper middle class type people, busyness is not a function of your quality of life or the tools you have access to, or like, if I only had such and such, then I would be less busy. But the reality is that busyness is just a function of your willingness to be busy, right? Like if you choose to fill your time, you will always be busy no matter what you have. And like, I'm not saying that busyness is always bad, but I think hurriedness can be bad. And what I mean by that is, when you live your life always hurrying from the next thing to the next thing, you can't just stop to enjoy the moment. You kind of miss out on the emotions that you're feeling. You miss out on developing emotional maturity as you learn to experience and process those emotions. And so I think like simplicity and slowness and just like contentedness is a really important discipline throughout all of human history. And I was tempted to say especially now, but I think every person that has ever lived probably thinks that especially now we need these things, right? But I think the reality is we have always needed these. Busy and overwhelmed in any context, and people can be content in almost any context, right? Again, I'm not trying to downplay the legitimate pain and suffering that people experience, but what I am saying is that often we have a lot of power over our circumstances, and we have the power to choose how we respond to the circumstances we find ourselves in, that people often do not use. So yeah, that's what I think about that. So thanks for asking. Yeah, so as you may know, I am currently driving. What you may not know is I am driving to play Magic: The Gathering with my friends. It's quite ironic that the game is called The Gathering because we have to gather to play it. Isn't that a funny thing? I think it is. So, going into tonight's, there's a couple of things that we have to think about. The main thing is my Ramos deck. So Ramos is the commander of my deck, and if you don't know, the commander... so, let me back up. Magic: The Gathering is a trading card game. There's a lot of different cards they print. They have, 4 to 7 new sets every year. This is very funny. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you. Also, it's so funny because I'm driving the speed limit in winter and everyone behind me is freaking angry about it, but that's fine. Anyway, so Ramos is my commander, okay? And in Magic: The Gathering, there are many different formats of play. So the standard format is called Standard, and you don't have anything called Commander. You just have 2 60-card decks, and you do 1v1. The format that we usually play as our friend group is called Commander, okay? So Commander is a format where instead of 60 cards, you have 100 cards in your deck. You can only have one of each card in your deck besides basic lands, which is a certain card type. And you have one of those 100 cards is what is called your commander. So your commander is always, you can always play your commander, basically like it's in like a special zone. And usually people will build the entire deck around what their commander does and try to build a strategy that's unique to their commander. So Ramos, which is my commander, is a dragon robot, basically. Dragon engine, he's called. The whole thing is he generates you mana when you cast spells, which allows you to cast even more spells. Now, as some of the viewers of the chat may know, such as Kokora, Ramos tends to be a removal. The players opposite to me tend to see Ramos and go, hey, I don't like that thing, I'm going to destroy it. So, I have done a lot of restructuring of my deck to prevent Ramos from being removed. I have quite a few counter spells, quite a few like protection spells, ways to get indestructible, ways to get hexproof. And so that is part of the updated Ramos deck. It is the ability to protect Ramos from removal. So The updated Ramos deck, or rather the previous version of my Ramos deck, since I made all these changes, I've only played 3 games with it, but it actually won all 3 of those games. But despite the fact that it has currently, in that old form, a 100% win rate, there was one game that I won that I only won because a player could have killed me, but he felt bad for killing me, and so then he just distributed his damage amongst everyone, and then I was able to play a board wipe, and I managed to win. So the Ramos deck is a very strong late game once Ramos is on the field, but a very weak early game, at least in its previous form. And so what I have done is I have restructured the deck a little bit more. I took out some cards, put in some new cards. The idea being, okay, I need to get to the late game to win with this deck. And so I need more ways to draw cards, and I need more ramp, because I need a lot of mana to get Ramos out, and then I still need even more mana to, once I play Ramos, be able to protect him, right? So I've added a lot of ramp, I've added more card draw, and I've added a few cheaper creatures that are high toughness, low power to try to defend in the early game. Like, for example, you may be familiar with the card Wall of Omens. It's a 0/4, 0 power, 4 toughness defender. So it doesn't do damage, but it just sits there to block. And when I play it, it draws me a card. So I have a lot of cards like that I've added to give me a bit more early game, just like survivability. I don't really ever plan to win in the early game, but I want to be able to at least, survive a few hits and prevent free damage before I can get Ramos out. Once I get Ramos out, the hope is that I have enough spells that I can get him up to generate, because you need to get 5 counters on Ramos to start generating mana. So once I can do that, then I'm usually off to the races. It's not always the case, but I've found, like, with my testing with this version of the deck, that I have a reasonably high amount of games that I can usually draw into a decently powerful spell to use Ramos's big mana splash on. So, for example, a classic card is Progenitus. It's the big 10/10 indestructible Hydra. It's actually not indestructible, but it's a very powerful Hydra that just destroys everything. That one is a great one to have in there. I have a new one called Primeval Spawn, which is very similar, but when it dies, it gives me a bunch of free cards. Maelstrom Wanderer gives everything haste, gives Cascade when I cast it. So yeah, a few big threats like that. And hopefully we can figure it out. And then also, if I don't get those cards, then usually my other win condition is just commander damage with Ramos, because if Ramos stays on the field for a couple turns, if things go well, he can suddenly be dishing out one shots with commander damage, like over 20 damage with commander damage. And he's a flyer, right? So he's pretty hard to block. So even if he doesn't have something like Trample, which, technically, there is one card in my deck that can give him Trample. I didn't turn left here. Good thing I remembered that. There is one card in my deck that can give him mana, that also in the late game has the ability to give Trample if I pay a bunch of mana. So it's a good card for, if I'm sitting there, I have a bunch of, say I didn't draw into any of my card draw spells, I'm out of cards in my hand, and I have a bunch of mana sitting on the field. I can just dump it into the Woes Pathfinder, as it's called, and get some Trample going. But that's usually not going to happen. Very rarely, I would say. But, overall, it's a fun deck, and that's the thing. You want to have fun, right? Because if everyone decides they don't want me to win, there's pretty much no way I can win, unless my deck is just outclassing them. But usually the decks that I build, I don't want to be like totally outclassing everybody. I want to, I want it to be a fair game that everybody's having fun. So if they all decide they don't want Ramos to win, then Ramos is not going to win. But I think that there is enough juice in the deck that hopefully, even if I don't necessarily win the game, I hope that I can at least get a few cool turns, like cast a cool creature, resolve a few cool effects, and then whatever, right? If you lose at that point, then you've done your thing, right? And that's fun. But we'll see. We will see. Now I'm at the point of the drive where I don't know why I said it like that, but I'm not wrong. All right, chat, we are arriving at the location. It's very dark. I apologize, but we're here. So, how's my battery doing? Okay, it's 13% has been burned. I started at 100. Now I have my phone charger, but you never know. Okay, I believe we're here. We're walking up. We're walking up. I'm ringing the doorbell. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. Hello.
Hello. Are you live streaming right now?
I am. I
Nice.
am. Yeah, I have
Hello,
to.
world.
Yeah, here I have two viewers. We have Brandon and my dad, I think. So,
Nice.
although I've seen rumors that apparently if you're not talking in the chat, then it doesn't count you as a viewer, even if you're watching it.
Oh, interesting.
Because I saw this clip of a streamer who was had 50 viewers or something, and she was like, "Hey, I want to test a theory. Like everybody just say a number in the chat or something."
Yeah.
And then her viewers jumped to 200.
Oh, wow.
So we might have 1 million viewers.
Yeah, you basically it's infinite.
Yeah,
we don't,
yeah.
It's Schrodinger's viewers.
Exactly.
I assume my wife is watching.
Of course. I mean,
Yeah.
this is prime entertainment right here.
The boys from us joking about how the Scarecrow deck even work.
Yeah.
Is it back online? Now we're going to play.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It went down just briefly because it when it was switching over to mobile.
Yeah, that's what I was
think.
kind of wondering.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, up. Yeah, I have to use this thing.
Is that
Yeah.
off of the Balrog or unidentified? No, yeah.
Whoa, you got a mat?
I did.
Whoa.
I was sick of being the only one with my cards on the team.
Look at this.
Like a peasant. Like, what is this?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay, so I
Beautiful.
figured if I
Fun.
max height this can get
Uh-huh.
a decent view of the table.
Yeah. Brandon says there could be millions watching the stream in silence right now.
Oh, Brian, what's up, man?
Should I?
Hey.
Should we
There
set
it
up
is.
so I or whoever is number 5 is on an end, or should we do it staggered more? How do we want to do
I
this?
feel like we could do an end.
Whoa,
but
you
it
have
has to
a
be that end.
new
Yes, we
container?
want the camera to be
Welcome
here.
to-
We could do an end, or we
Got
can just do
frustrated changelings took it apart.
Oh, really?
I bought a bunch of cards for this one.
Okay.
All the gates and land package minus Maze's End is really
What's
equivalent
the
to
design?
that one. And then I've got 70 cards.
Would you rather have
Yeah,
a
collection
at the end,
and
or
stuff
do
I
like
pulled
2
out of
and 3 like
changelings.
this?
Let's
Yeah.
do 2 and then
Or
3.
90
because I feel like the
cards
person at the end
towards
always,
another deck.
it always feels like
Nice.
how are you
So-
gonna do
Nice.
that?
I have one scarecrow that you can look at if you want to put it in there.
There's a few in here.
Yeah.
Reaper King wants all the scarecrows
Yeah.
played. So this is not Scarecrow Tribal. This
Yeah.
is.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Your Scarecrow deck's ready
Can
to
you
go?
swap to the
Well,
other camera?
this is.
Yep.
I finished putting the cards together and sleeved it today, so it's not tested.
Where's the
I'm
off
not
button?
really,
What do you mean?
Is this
So this
like
is kind of
if,
the
what happens
testing.
if both on camera?
is off.
I think it'll be fun. It's-
Okay.
Mind if may I take a look?
Yeah.
Oh, this is like a little bit.
We should buy bird tokens.
You're already at
like $440 or something like that.
Wow.
So it's pretty
What
good.
time did the stream start?
At 10 a.m.
Nice.
Hey, I feel like this isn't terrible.
No, it's good.
I don't know what the audio is going to be like, but
Everybody's gonna love getting birds.
Well, it's fine. What are you gonna do? We can't be perfect here.
That's pretty good.
right?
Any comments on the cat yet?
Did a little bit.
Yeah, just a cat on the table.
You just watch the viewers and start going.
I don't have a sword.
Yeah.
You actually have a cat only cam?
Yeah.
of course.
I was going back through
this? Oh, should I sit over
all
here?
the red, white,
Yeah, we need one more here.
dragon slash other stuff because there was one commander I was.
Can we just wish that you want to play?
Yeah. I said vampires. I think
Probably
they
go
did
better
better
way
with
now that I've got a couple
You're
other
sure.
builds and
Yeah, the
partial
vampires are
builds.
scary.
So I
I'm
will
also just really enjoying
shoot you a list or show you
Yeah,
a stack of
Which I think,
some red, white dragons.
you know what, should I
Oh,
put
yeah,
the,
that'd be sick. The main thing with the, I just have to pull these. Tell me if as many soul rings as I bought.
clip this.
So
And all of my precons are
I put that in
like
there.
some version of them is a deck for me. So I pilfered these
I'm
from my
gonna focus
space.
you like heckin'
No,
Bernard.
okay.
Freaking Bernard.
yeah,
Dude, honestly,
I
looks really hard.
scrapped. I changed
like-
Oh,
It's really hard, but it's also crazy how
which is partially into this
what like
A
phase 1, for example,
good chunk
what used to
plus,
like
plus
be
stuff
like
in my collection.
I'm not
that
too
you
Yeah,
just
watching you
phase
adapt was
1.
crazy.
Uh,
actually.
Now it's like phase 1, I'm just like freaking garbage. I just like annihilate him.
Cool.
I basically dumped
Whatchamacallit?
creatures and like
Yeah, so they use Bernard
dumped a
to
lot of
test
that
the
into
other
Goha.
bosses.
So
Oh,
I
like
only did
they
it
would
on
fight
four.
Bernard.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
how far they would get.
Yeah,
That's
yes.
so funny.
But Bernard is the
I've been
Yeah,
boss.
yeah. No, I
Mox
I
field
assumed-
building a deck.
was
Yeah.
really hoping
Patra,
there wasn't something after
that,
Bernard.
snake
And like he
making
takes something
Egyptian
from each
one I
boss
showed you,
essentially to like
and,
make him who he is.
So
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I-
so
I
I,
noticed
it,
he's using all the
I
different
ordered these a little while ago with shippings, you know, like,
Where'd you get them from? Face to
Like,
face.
abilities I've seen throughout the game.
well, we're in like
But like,
movies
man,
and
Bernard is
there's
like a
some
whole
stuff that'll
nother,
be
like
minus
the hardest boss
$5.
I fought besides
Well,
Bernard was
who's
that Samurai
commanding
Summon.
that?
Yeah.
And even then it was like the first
Once
few
you figure
phases.
it out.
Yeah, it was like the first few phases were like
Who
child's play.
is, like,
It only the
warrior
final
tribal?
phase was
Bernard's
So
hard.
you
Oh,
have
phase
different
one.
creature types.
Yeah,
but
Bernard's
as long
phase
as they're
1 was
warriors,
like
Yeah.
a hill to climb.
every
The-
time a
the only
warrior
phase that I
attacks,
found like
you
easy
add a
with
one
Bernard
to
was phase
white
4.
warrior
Yeah, I
type.
remember watching that. I'm like, man, Andrew's
And then you
cruise
can
to phase
spend
4
$5
immediately.
Yeah.
to
It's a game called Fury.
untap your creatures.
It's
and have
basically
face combat.
it's boss rush.
So it's like tons of
entire-
small
the entire
creatures,
game is
but
just you fighting
super
bosses. There's no
aggressive.
like normal enemies. There's no like in between bosses.
You
You're just
can
walking
build
through this like you know
CDH
picturesque
competitive,
landscape
so
with
yeah,
the
but
narrator
it's like
telling you like you know
generally stuff like
you gotta go do
creatures.
this.
So
Is it new?
we'll kind of see
No, it came out probably like
if it
I
goes
don't know,
like
2018,
way over the top or not. But
and I got it for
Building it with
Christmas
base and
like
stuff
way
is
back
gonna,
in like 2021.
slow it down a
But
bit.
it's that classic gamer moment
We're
to
kind of playing around with
wow, let's
that
go.
one.
This is actually pretty good.
Yeah. But it's that classic thing where you know you have your Steam
Adam's
backlog,
kinda
you
cut
have,
off.
you have
Yes,
like half the
I know.
games.
That's
So I was for when I was coming up to Extra Life, I was kind of like, okay, like what do I want to
And I
play? And
bought
I was
you
looking through my
mini
Steam library, and I was like, this
boxes
game
for
like
$12.
I always like
So
I
that's
thought
much
it was
easier
really
to
cool. I never ended up playing it. So I've been playing that all day.
Nice.
I've beaten every boss in the game 'cause it's not that long, except for Bernard, which Josh was telling me he was looking it up, and they apparently used Bernard to like test every other boss in the game to see how
Okay.
far they would get against Bernard.
Yeah.
And now I have to fight Bernard, and he's a freaking 9-phase boss.
Wow.
And like phase 1 took me like a lot of tries to finally like
You're gonna
get
get
it
those
down
birds?
consistent. So as of
Can I
right
sack the
now,
birds?
I've made it to phase 6,
Okay.
and that's as far as I've gotten.
Wow.
I've been
I have a lot
fighting
of
him for
sack
probably
abilities,
2
so
or
I'm
3
curious
hours.
to see how that's gonna
Wow.
work.
Yeah. I'm interested. This is very different.
So it's been a lot
than
of
stuff I run.
fun, and I
So-
love the music.
There's
Oh,
no.
It just makes you
that's
feel
usually
so
the norm,
awesome.
Like
Like
you know,
like you hit
win
with the
condition
counter and
like
just
that,
like
right?
knock the boss on
I
its
don't have
on its
alternate win
back.
conditions of most
Hey,
things.
hey! I'm
Very
sorry.
cool.
I had amazing.
So how about you answer the question he asked?
No, there is not alternate
Yeah,
win
if you,
conditions.
and then it won't right now.
Why would you
It's
think
on
I
my
have
phone. If anybody donates it,
How was retreat?
So
How was like
it's,
the week?
It was good. It was
yeah,
like
pretty cool.
the busiest week of my work here,
Oh, okay.
which
well,
is it's like kind of another to be trying to do there.
yeah.
But it's sick to be there.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I told Abby I think next year, like either I need to find a way to take that week off.
Yeah.
or- like, I don't like working there.
Yeah.
It's just not as good.
I don't know if it's my internet yet, but it's like stuttering quite a bit.
Oh, I might not even be on the Wi-Fi.
You're probably not.
So maybe I should connect to the Wi-Fi.
yeah. Man, honestly, after looking at all the Avatar stuff, there's like so many decks that I want to build and craft in that set. Oh
Yeah, it does look
my
like a good
gosh.
set. I think.
As I say, pretty much every card of Sokka fits into
One
the
of your
5-color deck that I want to build.
Oh, nice.
Because that'll be Warrior Tribal.
Oh, cool.
It's
Yeah.
the long term. Actually, not that long term. I already the commander in some cards. But,
Nice.
and then just need a few more elves, and I'll be building my change. Well, it's gonna have a ton of changelings in it. So
I only have to keep this, unfortunately.
I know this is crazy. It's 5:30. Are we? Should we have eaten beforehand? Do we eat afterwards? What's the play here?
I didn't eat, but I'm also not like I'm fine either way. Like I'm not that hungry, so I wouldn't have to eat if you guys don't want to. But I'm sure I would because I will need to eat at some point.
Yeah. I low key figured we'd probably.
That's what I kind of assumed. Also, if you have time, we got the trades binder. Okay,
May I?
you may look. All I ask is you let me know which cards you're thinking of trading for, and we can chat
I'm
about
gonna
it.
shuffle this
Yeah,
back. But this was my mulligan hand because it only has 1 land, but it was swamped to Soul Ring into Sakura
Dude,
Tribe over to
yeah,
sack for a land.
You run that.
You'd think.
Yeah.
If I was Josh, I would.
Yeah, absolutely. I would.
Yeah.
Josh
You'd
for
be
sure.
like, why do I never
Why
draw
do I
land?
get no lands?
Hey,
This is crazy.
It sometimes works.
Yeah, if you just freaking. Anyway.
Brandon says, I watched an MTG video talking about trying to balance going first versus going last in the commander. You try using a Hearthstone's approach where the person last gets a single treasure token, but not having the token have any synergies like Artifact Affinity and Permanent.
Oh, so it's almost like a typeless token.
Yeah, so this might be trying to if the 5th person is sad. Yeah, because I guess there's so much time before you go every single turn that having like 1 treasure token to give you a little extra mana probably isn't the worst idea.
Yeah.
Brandon, I like the idea.
Oh, this molten glass.